The 13th edition of the annual Wole Soyinka'S Center Media Lecture Series was on Monday, July 13, held at NECA Main Hall, Alausa, Ikeja, the Lagos State capital. The series, which was tagged Remaking Nigeria Towards a Secure and Viable Union, was attended by panelists and analysts in Nigeria and the diaspora. The lecture series over the years have highlighted challenging economic realities exacerbated by poor governance and insecurity in Nigeria. The event was graced by renowned speakers such as Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Amodu Shehu, Assistant Professor, American University of Nigeria, Motunrayo Alaka, Executive Director, CEO, Wole Soyinka'S Center for Investigative Journalism, Victoria Ibezim Ohairi, Executive Director, Spaces for Change. Debates were raised on critical issues affecting Nigeria and different perspectives on transforming Nigeria, constitutional restructuring, and among others were examined. The Wole Soyinka Annual Lecture was founded in 1994. Since 2009, it has been an avenue to commemorate the birthday of Africa's first laureate, Wole Soyinka, whose birthday coincides with the annual lecture. Although it was absentia during the lecture series, it was greatly honored.
And I'm a professor of journalism and mass communication in Iran. Currently, I am on the Council of the World Journalism Education Congress, representing Africa for the next 3 years. The first take is to congratulate the birthday boy, Professor Wole Soyinka. I wish you many happy returns of today. As we say, long life and prosperity. The Lord will be with you, will keep you, and will make his face shine upon you and your good family now and forevermore. Amen. As an eyewitness reporter, by the western part of the auditorium, I understand there's a beautiful cake, birthday cake waiting for you, which the organizers will distribute before the end of the day. Congratulations, sir. Back to remaking Nigeria. My first question goes to Dr. Chaibu. I agree with you that development cannot take place without a solid education, and that education is key to any meaningful development. But if you look around the events currently going in our country, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, where evil forces they go into schools, dormitories, and kidnap students, academic staff, provosts, and even professors and primary school people, and ask for unreasonable demand of ransom. As a specialist, and I congratulate you for being the first to have a PhD in this special area. Congratulations. What is your take? What is your suggestion for those evil forces to diminish by allowing us to have sound education so that development can take place in the 21st century? Effiong, I want you to speak in your generation language, Barrister Effiong. You said you talk about rule of law. I'm not a lawyer, but I was sitting with the barrister here. I was discussing with him that what's the opposite of rule of law? He said, whatever you want to. So I said to him, the opposite of rule of law should be law of the rule. So from your own perspective, sir, speaking in your generation language, how can we strategically change from law of the rule to rule of the law, so that we can stop all this nonsense going on in our society? Finally, to the media and the judiciary, in my own research, these are the last hope of Nigeria, whether you like it or not. Members of the press, members of the judiciary, and especially the loyal members of the fourth estate of the realm and non-fourth estate of the realm. We need to work together. Samurai, I agree with you. We need to work together to salvage making Nigeria back again. There's a need. I call on the judiciary and the media people to please come together in the making of Nigeria to fight these evil forces in our society, especially those who are trying to padlock the air and padlock the newsroom, padlock the studio.
Thank you, sir.
In my own judgment, Madam, just a minute, I consider it very insulting. I consider it insulting. And I believe it is only those who are politically distressed and intellectually bankrupt that be talking about ganging or padlocking the air in Nigeria for the 21st century. In fact, with what you have said, freedom of information was given to us. I think we should stop them. We should close the round. The members of the Judiciary, members of the Fourth Estate, of the realm, please let us work together and stop this nonsense in our society. Thank you very much.
Happy to be here. Okay, my question goes this. Of what significance is the suppressed press and banning of Twitter a solution to the current insecurity and bandit situation in the country? What's the way forward, actually? And I would like to say, we notice protests is not anywhere, it's not going anywhere as for the youth. So we want to see how far we can, voice out and not get harmed or turn the country into genocide or whatever. Thank you.
Is that question directed at anyone in particular?
Sorry, to Barrister Effiong. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
My name is Wole. I'm with the Judiciary. My question quickly for Nubari and Absat. For Nubari, I started Ogoni, so I understand all the things that you talked about, and you are correct. But then, people have wondered whether the Nigerian youths, including yourself, whether we ever bothered to take your politicians to account. We talk about Nigerian ministry, talk about NCTC. So why can't I give from home? How far have we gone in trying to hold them to account? After talking about, basically, she talked about liberalism. In other words, we should leave the politicians who are corrupt alone, because what they are doing and the amount they are stealing is not as much as what the new colonials are doing. But then, where do we have the concept of the low-hanging fruits? Those ones are far away. Can't the charity give from home? Can't they begin to hold our politicians, our leaders accountable first of all, before we start to go abroad and look for those who are far away stealing our resources? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, the gentleman behind him.
My name is Bernard Akeli. I represent News Central. News Central is a Pan-African news agency based in Lagos. As we say, I would like to stand on all existing protocols and hope that those protocols don't break, because a lot of us are standing here. I'll start with Dr. Shehu. First of all, for the benefit of those who were not around when you came to introduce yourself as the first nomad with a PhD, and you also went ahead to say a herdsman. In Nigeria today, if you use that term, it sparks up a lot of reactions. Now, here's my question to you. It's interesting to know that as a nomad and as a herdsman, as you put, you have attained this height and this level of education, and you've talked largely about education, particularly basic education, and talking that basic education should come from the locality and the community, not just looking at the government. I would like to ask, sir, is there a coming together of people like you who have grown through the ranks in that particular line, who have decided to do something for these young children back in the north, who are nomads, who are, in your term, herdsmen, and who do not have access or who have jettisoned formal education, such that when people see their own kind achieve a certain height, they will probably believe them and want to be like them and do better as regards hearing it from outsiders. So that's my first question to you, sir. A second question is to, please permit me, Madam Moturayo. Well, not just a question, it's also a statement I'd like to make. As a journalist, I've come to see that one of the problems with journalism in Nigeria, when we talk about making our voices heard and try to break barriers and break boundaries, is, let's be honest, not many journalists are well paid. And now, when you come into a room where a journalist is seated or is standing, as it is in most cases, sometimes we get the lower end of the seat because we are not even recognized as people who should be honored and adored. So you get into a place and you're trying to question a governor or a politician, and then the person shuts you down in abusive tones or languages, and people outside say, oh, it's a journalist, he couldn't talk or she couldn't talk. Don't forget that the journalist has an editor. or a superior who he or she has to report to. And then if you do wrong, the editor can easily fire you or subject you to punishment. Again, remembering that some of these journalists don't earn so much. In those kind of cases, what do you want them to do? They are family heads. They feed families, they feed younger ones. And finally, to security. I think Barrister Effiong will answer this maybe. Sadly, we don't have a security operative here. I have been, okay, we do. Maybe they are here, exactly. Now, I was privileged to be at the June 12 protest. And I was one of the journalists who had tear gas shot at. If possible, if you recognize, there was a young man in blue who went viral that day. Now my question is this: we need a party where journalists and security operatives can sit together and meet and know what we can do and what we cannot do in terms of crisis and in terms of protests and riots. Like you already mentioned, we have a CP or we have police now that can imprison people, including journalists, unduly without us having the opportunity to speak. So what can be done? What are the ways to go about protests, riots, peacefully or non-peacefully in the country that we are right now, such that our voices can be heard and representation can go out?
Thank you very much.
My question is to Nubari actually. My question is that as a Nigerian youth, an average Nigerian youth, what can I do to show that I care for the Nigerian Delta people? Like apart from social media, because a lot of times social media doesn't even really do anything. It's just creating awareness, not doing the actual work. What can I do as a student?
All right. We're not on this road yet.
My name is Ayola Babalola. I'm a reporter with People's Gazette. My colleague from News Central said that we are not well paid. To be honest, nobody is well paid in Nigeria. No profession is well paid in Nigeria. No, I'm not talking about the particular organization now. Aside from politicians, no profession is well paid in Nigeria. The question is, majority of our media organizations have affiliations with politicians, especially the broadcast media. How can we break this cluster? Because the truth is, if most of these media houses are not free from either the frivolous friendship or partnership with politicians, we will not be able to, hold power accountable and to directly tell us to ourselves in terms of welfare and the like. So how do we break this cluster? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sayal Prince from Passport 1 million listeners.
We cannot.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sayal Prince from Passport 1 million listeners secondary school. My question goes like this: gathering up all this together and voicing out in such a country like Nigeria, will it be possible to succeed? Because the government is not ready to listen to us, and protest is limited. What is our fate? My question goes to Mr. Barrister Effiong.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody here. My name is Untitled Chapter, as a representative of our Parkman Millennium Senior Secondary School. As a representative of our Parkman Millennium Senior Secondary School, my question is general. Actually, insecurity in Nigeria, who should be responsible for it, and why should they be held responsible? Is it the government or the citizens?
My first question is actually to Barrister Effiong. Before we talk about press freedom, I want to know what is the state of press integrity? And are they not the ones selling their liberty? Now, the second question is actually to Dr. Shehu. And why did Fulanis live in isolation? Preaching, why did Fulanis live in isolation? Preaching socialization that affects their education. The next question is directed to
No, we're only doing 2 questions now. I apologize. If we have time for more questions.
I want to know what is the state of the press integrity? Integrity.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Soyinka'S today, and an educator. I'd like to direct this question to Nubari. As a young girl in the 80s, I schooled in Port Harcourt, River State, one of the federal government colleges. And I remember going on an excursion to Africa. And one of the things that stood out for me was the fact that the river was black with oil, and we went to certain neighborhoods. You could see the fish float on the river, and there were actually pipelines passing through people's bedrooms. So the picture you painted is very, very true. But my question is, how united are the youths and the people of the Niger Delta to fight this battle? Because what I've seen happen for a very, very long time is that the oil companies, play on your intelligence, with unfortunately a lot of your elders who are also complicit in this as well, and the money is shared, and then there's a problem. And so at the end of the day, the problem just continues to resurface, continues to go on, over and over again. So the question is, how educated really are the people, especially the youth, about this problem? And what is that common ground that will bring them together to fight this injustice, and of course with other parts of the country? Thank you very much.
Yeah, my question is directed to Barrister Ifeoma. Yeah, with the presidency and freedom of expression in Nigeria currently, we have the social media, we have the press and the rest of that. What else can we think of? What else can we create that we can use as a medium to express ourselves in Nigeria currently? Thank you.
My name is Prince Charming. Publisher, editor of my company's magazine online. My question is, why is it that some editors hate online publishers? Thank you. And editors, they hate online publishers.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Untitled from Lagos State University. I'm representing Association of Campus Journalists. So my first question is for the lady cited Barrister Ifeoma. You talked about how the imaginative capacity of states have been destroyed. So my question is, how do you encourage this capacity in the state? And the second question is for Barrister Ifeoma. How do you suggest we young people take up the fight on the attack on freedom of press? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Abdul for Wole Senior School. My question is general to everyone. Is it possible for our major revenue, that is crude oil, to just dry off? And if so, what will be our major revenue in Nigeria?
With the white cap and then the gentleman in glasses.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashekun Jisola, a student of
Please, let's have one house, please.
A student of Lagos State Polytechnic. So my question is for Victoria. Okay, you said that government should move from crude oil to education. So I want to give you 3 alternatives. Like you should place them on scale of preference. Should government focus, like which one should government focus more on? Is it basic education or informal education, that is the vocational training? And the third one, job opportunities.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Moses, and I'm a member of Lagos State Polytechnic Press Club. My work with what Dr. Amadou Shehu said, he laid emphasis on communities coming up to take charge of basic education, the most important aspect of basic education. Then Mrs. Asfad also did the same thing. She said, for Nigeria to be successful with this remaking, then the citizens need to stand up for its right. Now my question is going to all the speakers. How can we sensitize the common people on how to take up this battle of remaking Nigeria? Because in Nigeria we know that the common man will tell you that since I have food to eat, I don't need to go out there and stress myself. So most of them are less concerned with what is actually going on. So how can we sensitize them on how to tackle these issues? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Fatah Ismail Odanikom. I'm from Lagos State Polytechnic. Here is my question. My question goes to Barrister Ifeoma. You mentioned something that the National Assembly has turned to national embarrassment. And also, the rule of law is on our side. Please, can you please explicate or illustrate your thoughts for us? Thanks.
All right, thank you. And our final question.
On all existing protocol. Greatest Nigerian students. Articulate Nigerian students. Greatest Gogo. Greatest Bagba. Kulu Kulu. I am right, Honorable Biola Tiri Adedamola Victor, the Speaker of Lagos State Polytechnic Ikorodu. I am a communicator and also a member of the Lagos State Polytechnic Press Club. Barrister Ifyong, I'm sorry the questions are directed. You really ate a part of the educational aspect of the students, and I know that every student here is concerned. Now, the first thing is, as a member of the union, we face certain issues with the school management. You mentioned, and I'm going to say exactly, you said, speaking the language the government understands. Now, it is not only Nigeria that has a problem. Schools has a problem. Lagos State Polytechnic, LASU, and every other school has peculiar programs. Now, the question is, after several consultations, diplomatic approach, and trying to ensure that our agitations and interests as the student union government body is actualized by the government, and we don't get this, which I understand that at this point, protest is very futile, because at the end it constitutes nuisance. Now, what do we do? What is the best way we can speak to our government? What is the best way we can speak to the management of the institutions so that the students can be heard? We face issues of underfunding a lot. The second question goes to Dr. Amadou Shehu. There is this dichotomy in the educational standard, and I'm coming to the issue of HND and PSE, Polytechnic graduates and university graduates. I stand to say it here that Polytechnic graduates stand out very well. Polytechnic graduates stand out. Why is it that we are given, this segregation that if you don't graduate with PSE, you can't find a place to work in the organization, you can't earn well, and most of the camera operators here, I believe that some of them got this information or idea from technical skills, and you can learn this from Polytechnic, not even university. Else you have, elsewhere you can learn information from.
All right.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you
why
very
is
much.
it so? Why is it so? Why do we have that? Thank you.
All right. Remark. 1 minute for the closing remark, and let's be circumspect with our time, please.
Could you remind me of the question?
I know the question was in regards to low-hanging fruits. When you shared this slide that talked about how much money is leaving the African continent, the question was asking about dealing with the politicians or dealing with the corruption at home before we face the corruption abroad, or before we face those abroad who facilitate.
Actually, I don't know your name. I like you a lot, but I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I'd say, what's your name?
I'm just repeating the question. There was not my question. What's your name? My name is Tolu.
Okay, Tolu, thank you. So the point I want to make is, and I made this point actually in the US at an event where they were talking about corruption in Nigeria, that if the corruption from the African politicians is 3%, you could solve all of that, so you would save 3% for the African economies. And you would be happy that you solved all the local corruption. But if you could solve just 10% of the global corruption, which is 64% of the loss, right? You could solve 10% of it. You've already overwhelmed, you've doubled what you've solved at the local level. So I'm not saying you don't solve the local, but I'm saying that I find it so deeply disturbing in a country with highly educated people where they always focus on the local, when the local is such a small fraction of the large picture. And I'm wondering if dealing with people that are educated or people that are colonized in their minds. And talking about all the different problems in Nigeria, to me it's like going to the plantation south of the United States during the period of slavery and talking about the problems in the different plantations. Completely irrelevant. We need to change that system. And that's what I would like us to focus on. And the last point I would make is from Frederick Douglass, And Frederick Douglass said, he said, power never concedes anything without a struggle. It never has and it never will. And I'm saying that if you're going to put your energy and your life towards making a meaningful difference on the issues of how we live, and all the questions and all the problems, whether it's the journalist's salary or the problems for funding, education, or all of that, is because we are being squeezed of resources, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent. That's the same reason why there's looting in South Africa, and why professionals in Nigeria are so grossly underpaid. We need to address all of those things by looking at the global economic system and where we fit, and trying to negotiate better terms for a better fit that honors the fact that we're 1.2 billion people and not 20,000. We cannot afford to be a banana republic, which is how it's structured currently. So I would like us to apply our brilliance, apply our courage, and there are no hanging fruits. Actually, the G7 just came out of a meeting with President Biden with a new tax bill that is going to tax the global multinationals 15%. But the African countries are saying that even with that, it's a question whether Africa's economies will get their fair share. We should look at the kind of arguments being made by African development and Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, who is trying to push Africa's agenda, even on the special drawing rights from the IMF. Okay. We have champions fighting this battle for us, but I don't want us to be so local and looking at our neighbor while the whole house is burning. And I want us to engage, now that the global system is realizing, it's not just Africa that is realizing that Africa is not working. Globally, I'm here in Belgium. My husband is one of the top people in the European Commission. They all realize it. Even Europe is struggling. The United States is struggling. So they're all looking at they're looking to do what they call a global reset. But if we are not engaged at that global level on how they reset, we will just be compromised and we'll be left with nothing. Because we're not in the picture. If you're not at the table, you'll be on the menu. And I'm tired of us being on the menu and then talking about local politicians. Who cares? And local politicians will be replaced and we'll still have the same problems unless we change the global picture. So I need us to focus. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And the global tax agreement that she mentioned, out of the African continent, 2 countries did not sign. Guess who? Foreign companies are agreeing, and everybody else is saying a minimum of 15% of foreign companies' taxes of what they make in Nigeria or anywhere else. Nigeria has not signed because ours is at 30%. So there is further negotiation. We'll see what happens. All right, let's move on. Online, we also have Professor Moses Ochono. I'll use this opportunity to let him have his closing remarks right now. Prof, you have a minute, please.
Okay, thank you. Again, for me, I think we should return to first order issues and questions. Hafsat Abiola has already mentioned, other people have mentioned the issue of overdependence on natural resources. I'd like to return to the issue of the structure of the union itself, which I think is broken and it's flawed, it's problematic. And I think, to return to the point that I was trying to make, to further flesh out that point, I think that it is high time that we get over this conceptual laziness of using restructuring as a catch-all, as a stand-in for other issues that confront the union. And so we should be more precise again in the way that we talk about restructuring, so that it is targeted, it is narrow, and it is well-defined. Again, secondly, I'd like to return to the question of language. It's critically important. Especially the way we talk about, insofar as restructuring is about building alliances, bringing people into the fold rather than alienating them, rather than antagonizing them. I think instead of, I think we need to re-examine, how we talk about restructuring. How many times have we heard it not being described by certain people as a drag on the rest of the country? I think that's an unhelpful approach. As a region, the Northeast is said to be as a region holding others back. And yet we expect the same Netherlands to buy into restructuring. How is that possible? How about we change our strategy and develop a healthy, respectable, logically sound and evidence-based case for why Northerners should be at the forefront of restructuring? How about we argue and articulate for them that their region is endowed with abundant human and land resources. The two most important elements, aside from technology, of course, in the economy of the 21st century. How about we make a compelling case to them that they need to actually, that restructuring is in their interest and they need to be at the forefront of it. Finally, I'd like to say this, the language we adopt has the capacity to enable us to build the consensus and the alliances necessary to accomplish restructuring, however defined restructuring is, or it has the capacity also to harden opposition to it. We have a choice to make. I advocate and I suggest that we choose a language that enables us to build a consensus in the direction of accomplishing restructuring, rather than in the direction of hardening opposition to it or engendering skepticism towards restructuring amongst Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you very much. We are still coming to our panelists in the hall. Let's have our final panelist who has joined us online, Indi Kato. Please, you have closing remarks in 1 minute, please.
Okay, so I will close this with specific asks, right? Currently, the Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill, women have brought this forward again. It's led by Senator Biodun Ojukwu in the Senate. And this bill ensures that Nigerian women get a better deal. And we can't be paying attention to so many other things and just refuse to pay attention to these ones. And every time it comes up in the news, it's put down. The Gender and Equal Opportunities Bill is for everybody. Let's look at the Electoral Reforms Bill. Please, right now, we are fighting for better elections, but Nigerian politicians, specifically in the National Assembly, are fighting to worsen the state of our politics. And for women, this is a very gendered issue. Who gives these elections the last one out is Salome and who runs to death. Nobody has been brought to school for that. Again, I mentioned that we're not part of this violence, but we are victims of it. And this electoral reforms bill, if you allow it to fail, will continue to prevent women, young and old, young people from partaking in politics. These are things that we need to pay attention to, because one of the key things in getting things right, even for equal opportunities for women, for a better life for all of us, fair elections. And right now, the electoral reform is right there. It's right there and we're not paying attention to it. But there are also gender aspect of those things, looking for increased participation for women, from the local to the federal level. And I'm begging us that please, as we pay attention to all of the things, on the street and all of that, we need to put our eyes on the current National Assembly. Because I, as a woman, the current National Assembly is holding back. This assembly is holding back by the quality of laws moving forward, by the decisions they're making there. And that even when we get to elections eventually, we need to mirror this, to look closely at these places and look at who is representing us, what have they put forward, and be selfish about that. How have they benefited us? I will be making that decision as a woman, as if for issues that affect me in 2023, and I ask that we make these decisions based on that. Not that the person that I will love the person so much, but the selfish decision to go to the polls to look for what benefits us the most. Just put a searchlight on this place. This place is affecting me as a woman, it's affecting millions of Nigerian women, and we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Indi Kato, please. Thank you so much. All right, we'll start answering the questions for the panelists here in the hall, and I'll start from my far right, Dr. Shehu. Let me start with you. Please go ahead and use this as an opportunity as well to succinctly add your closing remarks.
Okay, thank you. I have about 4 very important questions. Each of them is the whole topic itself. I start from my able elder, seated near the icon of law. You know, saying if we advocate for kids to go to school, how do we tell their parents that they are going to return the next day? Because every day we've got news, kids being kidnapped from school. True, the reality of Nigeria, of course, northern Nigeria today. But these are 2 problems that have to be dealt with concurrently. Because insecurity itself that we have now, we're dealing with, is partly the production of failure of our basic education. Because when I talk of education not literacy, because there's complete difference. In educating a child, it is not making him literate. It is enabling him with the apparatus that he needs to live a good life. So it is failure, or in fact, lack of education that has led us to this very deep, dark, dangerous hole. So, if we don't have secured schools, our children cannot go to school. Then we ask, who is responsible to secure these schools? It is the government. And who is to hold the government responsible for that? It is the people who want schools for their children. Now, what is the answer? Communities should be energized to get up to their rights and hold their immediate leaders responsible. I repeat, immediate leadership responsible. That way, security will be provided and kids will go to school. And therefore, we cannot stop advocating for basic education because you cannot get peace without basic education. But of course, we know we have to provide peace for basic education. So these will go in tandem, concurrently. And this is my answer, my able leader. 2, what are we doing? People coming from the same background to change this situation. My profile says a little bit about that. We've started as individuals. We've founded 2 very strong institutions, organizations that have produced lawyers, that have produced medical doctors in a very short time. The results are there, and I will be happy to share my course with people who want to come with me and help people who cannot have access to education, especially children of my time who are born as nomads. That's my immediate concern. But the gentleman who asked this question have pointed out why the media is not that wholly wholesome instrument for civilization. While we need it for progress, like Mrs. Alaka pointed out, we also need to revisit the ills of the Nigerian media. This is a topic for another day, but I want to hint out that the fact that you got pinched when I said I am a headsman is simply because you have absorbed kind of holistic, wrong narrative, stereotypical to any extent of the linguistic word lexicon of a headsman. I bet you, 30 years ago, if you came to Lagos and you use the word headsman, nobody will get pitched up. You will just visualize one man trying to tender to cattle who will provide protein to his dish. Today, with my Polish PhD, because I got it from Poland, so it's a Polish PhD, I say I'm a headsman and then someone just got, is he gonna kill me? And worse still, I was at the United Nations office in Europe to protest the idea of saying the Nigerian media blatantly on channel, someone said Fulani headsman carried a gun and killed an Igbo farmer. How about an Igbo Yahoo or a Yoruba armed robber robbed a Fulani cattle trader? How about that? Why should it, why the reverse is the case? Why are Nigerians being taught that whose most friends are Christians, Southerners, who are probably born in Calabar and can speak Efik and Ibibio, and will dance and roam and drink wine properly? would be seen as someone who is simply a killer in a Nigerian setting where these people that you stereotype are almost the majority. Where does it take you? So we need to also revisit that whole holy medium of freedom that is depressed in Nigeria to the ills it has been created, the animosity, the hatred, the divisions that it has been promoting in our national discourse.
All right.
That's for that question. Question 3. Why do Fulani live in isolation and preach? I didn't get the word, but it sounds very derogatory. You know, this is what he consumed from the media recently. And you know, his basic education has failed him. Because he should have learned that Ahmadu Bello was a Fulani and did not live in isolation because he was Prime Minister. And he should have known that me that is sitting here does not live in isolation to obtain a PhD from Poland. Which means, if we had basic education that teaches Nigerian children the reality of their Nigerianness and their Africanness and their future, we would raise children that will see a Yoruba man in Adamawa State as simply another brother from another mom. Just like a living witness sitting there. Soji, I want people to see. This is Soji. He visited me the whole way from the UK. 2 days ago, we were in my own home state in the room my mother gave birth to me. He has seen my cattle, seen my sheep, seen my brothers, and went to the hut where I was born. But we met in Poland. This is Soji. Sit down, Soji. Christian, Yoruba, European. Me, Fulani, Adamawa, and he's from Oyo State.
Dr. Shehu, I apologize. I feel like I've been apologizing.
Finally, number 4. I need to answer these questions because they are important to me. I take them personally. I'm so sorry. No, I won't let them go. So, 4. You know that the criminal Igbo and the criminal Yoruba and the criminal Ifik and the criminal Fulani are all victims of the same enemy, bad governance. Why don't we go there and sort it out? Degree polytechnic dichotomy. I'm really not an expert. I am a linguist by training, but my passion is helping children of my own background to get to where I am. But I have an idea. The difference is in curriculum. The polytechnics teach you something different from what a university teaches you. An employer should employ his employee based on his needs and demands. You went to polytechnic, you went to be something within the curriculum you are trained. You went to be in the university, you went to acquire something you are being trained. You ought to have been employed based on your skills, leading me to the Nigerian idea of excellence. We should focus on merit and employ people based on what they can do, but not based on their primordial identities, accidents that can never make them professionals. Thank you so much for all the time you give.
Thank you. I'm apologizing to my panelists ahead of time because I might have to interject, but we're trying to work towards wrapping things up. We still have our chairperson who has not given us his remarks. Nubari, I'm coming to you now. If any of the questions are similar, please help us join them together and use this opportunity for your closing remarks as well.
Okay. Sir, you asked what has the Nigerian government done to hold the political leadership accountable, and you brought up the issue of the NTDC. Well, While we're coming, we're actually discussing the NDDC. The truth about the NDDC is that the NDDC is perfect, it's functioning how it was set up to function. The NDDC was set up to fail. There's a reason why for the past 6 years, we can't remember how many people have headed the NDDC. There's a reason, because the NDDC was set up to be a cash cow for political elites who are loyal to the national government and who are from the Niger Delta. They are technocrats, they are intelligent people in the Niger Delta who can run the NDDC, and the people will be able to see visible achievements, positive effects on the environment. I will just call a name out of my head. We have Reverend Dr. Emiko Basi. He's there, but this kind of people are never given the opportunity to head NDDC. There's a reason why. It's the system. The system is good at reproducing bad leaders, and it ensures that it prevents good leaders from coming up. That's why the NDDC is the way it is. Now, when you talk about the youth, I think the question actually equalizes with the one you were asking. The truth is, there's a new generation of Niger Deltas. People who don't care about the odds. People who have seen their environment devastated and personally have not benefited anything from it. Of course, we are aware of the role our political leadership have played in this. We are aware of that role. We are also aware of the role that the government has played in backing them up and ensuring that they are always the ones who come back. We are working towards that. For example, we revived the Niger Delta Congress, which was first in existence before independence. We have resurrected a group of young persons who have looked at the region and realized that there is a leadership vacuum, and it must be filled one way or the other. And we are working towards filling it. It brings me to our own question about how can people help the Niger Delta situation. Now, if you look at the composition of the Nigerian House of Representatives, out of over 300 representatives, the Niger Delta has less than 55. Our voices are drowned. If you look at the state, out of the 180 or thereabouts, we have less than 20. So within the Nigerian contraption, the voices of the Niger Delta people is always drowned when compared to the voices of the major nationalities. The Niger Delta is not a homogeneous place. It's not a group. I am Ogoni. He's a Bibio. The Niger Delta. There's a John, there's a Sheki, there's over 65 ethnic nationalities. It takes effort to unite people like that. It takes effort. But unfortunately, we have a situation where our political leadership, they are much more interested in accumulating wealth. So they are not interested in uniting our people. But that's their own loss. My own generation, we have the plans of, we don't have plans, we are actively working towards uniting the people. And also, back to that question, how do you support us? By letting your voice. If everybody in this room now very much aware of the issues that affect us economically, environmentally, from time to time, we talk about it. You speak up for us. The ripple effect goes wider, it goes further. You can end up funding organizations that have been set up to agitate for the Niger Delta people, economically and environmentally. There are so many organizations like that. Again, if you're looking for where to send your donations, you can fund the Niger Delta Congress. We are working towards the goal, the purpose. Our collective job will ensure that we have environmental justice, we have political autonomy, we have economic autonomy.
Okay?
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Barrister, I know you're not going to take all those questions.
Looks like there was a conspiracy. Please, both of the questions are here. But 10, but many of them related. So I will find a way to juxtapose and relate them. Now, Prof, you asked the question, how can we salvage the rule of law? Professor Soyinka said it in his prison memo, the man died. And the man dies in him who keeps silent in the face of tyranny. And we've always said that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. The reason why the political elites are so audacious, so brazen, so dastardly in their monstrous destruction of this country? It's because they know, as a matter of fact, as a matter of history, that they can get away with murder. Nigeria seems to have resigned to fate, and that has to change. So we must be active, the civil society, the student community, which is almost dead, because if you mention dance now, I don't know what it means. The civic space is shrinking. The media must also, as issues of welfare we are aware, but the media must also step up. Strategic litigation is another way of salvaging the rule of law. And that is why I commend my mentor, G.T. Ogunde, my senior groups like CELAB and others, and all progressive forces that continue to go to court to challenge the impunity of the government. Well, someone said protest is not helpful. What is the way forward? And also raise the issue of Twitter ban. I totally disagree. Part of the problem we have as a country is the idea that protest is not helpful. You may have your own interpretation of the EndSARS protest, the ups and the downs, but one lesson of history from EndSARS is really that truly people united can never be defeated. The day the Nigerian people say they have had it enough, there is no military deployment, there is no crocodile smile, there is no dancing python that will be able to suppress the determination of our people. We are talking about the Electoral Act. If tomorrow 5,000 people come in the National Assembly and say we will be here except and until you restore electronic transmission of results in the Electoral Act, we will be here until social and so issues are debated to. Do you think there will be no difference? We are not fighting enough. So protest is effective. Now the question, what can journalists do during protest? And of course, they right to protest. Don't be discouraged. And part of the problem I have with the media, like Jalefo already said, the pen is the closest to the weak and calm. I've also seen, for those of us who are into public interest litigation, part of the problem we have with the media and journalists in Nigeria is that they are not taking steps to also enforce their rights. For example, when you were assaulted, did you go to court? Did you get a lawyer to file an action for you? We had NBC impose fines on media organizations in Nigeria. Not even one Nigerian organization had the boldness to go to court. Even when I undertook as a private citizen, I reached out to some of them to help me with some documents, they all shy away. That is part of the problem. Journalists must also be at the forefront of defending press freedom, beyond editorials, beyond news reports. So I need to make that point very clear. Now, Twitter ban, I don't want to comment on it because I'm among those who have sued the federal government. Now, what is the effect since, okay, the student asked since government is not listening and protest is not working. I disagree that protest is not working. If protest is not working, what we need is more protest. It's not less protest. Protest is working. And I was a student activist. I can give you examples of some of the things I did during that led to changes being effected. One person led to the Arab Spring. So Nigeria was never safe. Because the moment we have said that protest is not working, the ruling elite have won. Because that is our most potent instrument of challenging impunity. Now, the state of the press is about the press integrity. Are they not responsible for why their liberty has been taken away? Well, it's neither here nor there. Some of these things, I may not say it publicly, but I agree with you that responsible journalism is very, very vital. And sometimes I don't really blame the journalists. I know what it costs to call a press conference. It is not an easy thing. So I understand the issue. But at the same time, we cannot stigmatize the media. Because without the media, the battle for democracy, the battle for rule of law is already lost before it starts.
All right.
Now, there is also the question, other means of expression. I believe I've already attended to that. And attack on freedom of press, I've attended to that by the campus journalists. I happen to be the lawyer to the National Union of Campus Journalists in Nigeria. So I was impressed when the question was asked. Now, I don't think the media should be afraid. Personally, I have the misfortune of defending a couple of journalists in court and media houses. And my experience is that journalists who stand up for the truth, they always prevail at the end of the day. History itself has shown that. And I think it will be a betrayal. Delegiwa will be crying in his grave if the journalists of today refuse to stand up to executive impunity. Now, rounding up, there is also the question, how can we facilitate our people? I think that has been answered. Why did I say the National Assembly is a national embarrassment? For me, I was speaking in a euphemistic language. They are actually worse than a national embarrassment. The National Assembly is a national tragedy. When you have 109 people in the Senate, 306 people in the House of Reps, any more than Joe Biden, any more than Boris Johnson, and they don't care about the feelings of the people. They keep improving abominable requests for loans. When you have, the day I lost hope in the current National Assembly was the day General Buratai and his other gang members were approved as non-career ambassadors. The same Senate that passed a vote of no confidence on Buratai sought to confirm them as the image of the country. And you say they are not a national embarrassment. I think they are a national tragedy, and I think they should be ashamed of themselves. Now,
please we need you to wrap up.
And the last I want to respond is the students. For me, the Right Honorable, part of the problem is that appellation. As a student, I would prefer comrade. Because when you begin to say Right Honorable, it creates an elitist impression. And you see, you said management don't listen. Part of the reason they don't listen, I'm not speaking specifically to you, is that the student leadership is also generally corrupt. And we must admit that. How many student union presidents in Nigeria today can... I was the president of the SRC when I was in law school in Victoria Island, my set. Nobody can say I took 5 naira during my tenure. I was entitled to exclusive accommodation, but I still choose to live in and stay with my colleagues. When I was a student parliamentarian, I was the only one who returned constituency allowance that were given to others. If you must fight power, you must be different from those in power. You cannot, as a student activist, be asking the government to listen to you when you are also aspiring to join the stealing gang. So be different. Be different. And finally, if they victimize you, I can guarantee you, some of us will defend you. Babalola is there from the Gazette. When he was arrested, I was happy to see him for allegedly calling for a protest. Excluding for him, the students in Akwa you may have read that was expelled for allegedly insulting the government. I also stood up for him and he has been ordered to be reinstated. But you cannot, because of fear of victimization, refuse to stand up for the truth. You will only have betrayed history, you will only have betrayed your generation. Thank you once again for the privilege. Thank you for the honor of inviting me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Victoria, we'll move on to you for your answers and your closing remarks very quickly, please.
Okay, thank you. There was a question about which should the country prioritize, formal education, informal education, and job opportunities. I actually think the three are linked together. The first and the second in particular will lead to the third, which is job creation. A lot of people try to emphasize on the dichotomy between formal and informal education. I actually think that that dichotomy is baseless because the economics show that both of them can lead to empowerment, formal or informal education. There is an example Cosmos Maduka of Oscars used to give. He said, take a young boy, put him in Onitsha main market for 6 years. Take another young boy, put him in Unilag or any university for 6 years. When they both come out, give 2 of them 1 million naira. The one that has been in Onitsha main market in 2 years can give you 10 million. The one that has been in the university for 6 years will still be applying for the job. So that is to tell you, if you follow me on Facebook, I always say, get a skill. We are living in a country that has the population, and the population means there is market. Why do you think the Chinese are coming here? Get into any British Airways flight. You find out that a lot of people in the business class are white men. Get into Qatar Airways or Emirates Airline. A lot of white men are coming here. Why do you think they are coming? Always ask yourself. Because a lot of us say people want to go abroad. We want to go abroad. Always ask yourself, why are the whites coming here? It means that they find the market for their goods. They find the resources that they need. They find the opportunities in Nigeria that they can't even find in their country. So they make the money here and repatriate the profits to their country. So the easy question for us is, how do we harness both formal and informal education to create wealth for our country? And the final point I want to make on that issue is, there is a positive relationship between education, formal or informal education, and prosperity. Look at Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Look at their literacy index of states, 36 states. Then look at their poverty index of the same Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. You find out that the states at the top, on the top of the ladder of literacy, are always on the top of the ladder on prosperity. The ones at the bottom of the ladder on literacy are still the same states at the bottom of the ladder on poverty. So there is a positive relationship. As a young person, your emphasis should not be just go to school because everybody is going to school. If you find out that you are skilled in carpentry, I don't know whether you hear about bedmates and a lot of furniture companies. If you see the amount of money they spend on furniture, you will be shocked. So whatever that your hands are good at, cake making, bead making, whatever it is, just make sure that you're very good at it and you're skilled in it. It will surely lead you to greener pasture. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll do this quickly because we do need our chairperson to speak before we close. I want the media to, so there was a question around the ownership of the media. Well, it's not a problem we can solve in this room. It already exists, but what I always advise is that so the owners globally, ownership affects the media, what it does. So if you belong to a particular organization and the ownership restricts you in a way, share the story that you have. Share it with the other opposition organization whose ownership does not restrict them for getting that information out. If indeed media is about public interest, then it is important that information that needs to get to the public gets to the public. So share the story with a partner organization whose ownership allows the publication of that story, while we fight the long-term issue of really getting people who understand the reason for the media to own media and to run it properly. And also to mention the fact that we must exalt accuracy above facts, because facts are not always equal to what is accurate. So I was asking, for instance, about the coverage of X-Men from a group of journalists, and they told me that they interviewed a couple of people who were X-Men, and they spoke Fufude. And I said, the fact that somebody speaks a language does not establish that the person comes from a particular place thoroughly, number one. Number two, the fact that you spoke to 4 or 5 people does not establish that this issue is what a whole group of people, this is what a whole group of people do. Because we do not have the concrete facts that this particular group of people have decided to use their profession to kill people. And we've not had even stories where people say, oh, see the cows right here and see the dead bodies right here. They let the cows and then they went to kill people. So the media is the business of educating people, but we do need to invest on our own education. The media has to invest on our own education. Many media houses do not train directly. Other organizations train the media. We need media editors to organize training within the media houses, because there is only so far that the external organizations can go. We have a lot of great minds in the Nigerian media. We have a lot of great minds in particular newsrooms. So we need to organize ourselves, and the older generation of journalists educate, about our history, about who we are, about how we came to be, so that when we are reporting, we report that way. Two more things. I want to talk about the fact that credibility is something we cannot negotiate as the media. I always say that if media were a product, and it is a product, credibility will be its unique selling point. If we're not credible, we're out of business. We may not be know it. We might still have money, but we're out of the business of the media. We might still have resources, but we're out of the business of properly informing the people and holding government accountable. So we do have to be credible. And finally, media has to be curious. Sometimes you read pieces and you see things that say, who asked questions here? It is not a joke that we have, those 5 W's and H. It is so that we can be people who ask questions. I've gone to so many public press conferences, and they say question time or meetings, and journalists have no questions. How is it that we have no questions? We must query even what we see. And in the days of deep fakes, and a lot of technology that distorts truth, it is more important that we ask questions, that we are curious as the media. And the media is the last hope of the people, really, truly. And we must not allow ourselves to be silenced.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have held everyone down for the past few hours, but I hope it has not been a situation where we take nothing away. As we're wrapping things up, I need you to put your hands together as I call on Mr. Femi Falana, SAN, the chairperson of this event. He's going to give remarks. He doesn't want to fight the stage so that everyone can see him. I will hand it over, please, sir. Please, a round of applause for him.
Our moderator and the panelists. First of all, I would like to thank Muturayo and Chidu. Which of them? Okay. I would like to thank Chidu and Muturayo for putting this together. I'm very delighted to be here, but let me explain why I came late. I've been pursuing a 12-year-old case. And the matter came up this morning and I was delayed in court. And so I apologize. Secondly, usually the chairman's remark sets the tone, but I think the panelists have set the tone today. And for me, I've learned a lot. What they have done today is to give us a lot of food for thought. And thought for feeding. And by the time we all go back, I think we need to cross-fertilize idea much more regularly. Our colleague, our friend, and our comrade, who has spoken very well, Amadu Shehu, thank you very much for your courage. Thank you very much for your intervention. Before you go back to Poland, no, I know you're back. On a very serious note, people like you who need to educate Nigerians the more. Because like I said, and many of us here are opposed to ethnic profiling of criminals. A criminal is a criminal. And therefore, the few criminals among the others who are giving all Fulani people by name, we must expose them.
Yeah.
And we must also ensure that they are prosecuted.
Yes,
I mean, just like I said, General Muhammadu Buhari is a Fulani, even a header. But he doesn't go, General Buhari doesn't go to Katsina looking for grazing route. I'm sure you have seen him in his farm, in his little ranch. So how can you in this age and time be talking of looking for grazing routes in the 21st century when you have alternative animal husbandry? And the best example in Africa is Botswana, a small country of 1.2 million people. You can Google. The cattle population there is 2.8 million. But that country has markets in every country in Europe for animal husbandry, to sell meat. So it's not rocket science to produce meat and distribute. So please, people like you must speak out the mouth. Now, for me, we're in a very perilous time. Like we're still talking of Onoche. By the way, she was rejected last year. I'm not sure you are aware. She was to have been made a national commissioner. She was rejected. Now they want to make her a resident commissioner. She has just been rejected. But mind you, they will bring her back. Because they believe we are just a pack of fools. And that is why I must commend Nigerians for our rejection this time around. Don't get tired. I got here before I knew of this development. My son sent me, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, Now, he sent me one. You call him fast. He sent me a text about Onoche. And I said, congratulations. He said that, why are we congratulating ourselves? Are we not being insulted by these people? And what do we do? And this is my challenge to all of you. You have done very well. But please, let us be very careful. The policies of NGO can no longer help our country. You can't have non-governmental organization people out there while criminally minded people are in the parliament. What do you expect? Economic saboteurs and political buccaneers have taken over our country, and we are doing NGO work. No, it don't have any long now. You guys here, and if you have a parliament, 6 of you in the National Assembly, the difference will be clear. And that is why after this program, and that will be to the delight of Professor Soyinka, that we can resolve here today, that we are going to make maximum intervention in the politics of our country. And I can assure you, there is no cause for alarm. They only scare you, they won't win. That's right. Because their cause is wrong. Their cause is not just like your own. And the greatest tribute you can pay to Professor Wole Soyinka, who for the past 60 years have been in the forefront of the struggle of our country for change, is to rededicate ourselves to the struggle for the transformation of our country from a land of poverty to a land of prosperity. Those who are talking of, I was just laughing when you are talking of oil business. Nobody has time for oil again. It's knowledge economy, and I think Victoria made the point. When you are talking of countries that have no resources at all, and they are ahead of the world, while those of us who do not even know what to do with our wealth or our oil resources, you talk about people going to Abuja. Please, they now go to Abuja every month to share poverty. What you call how much? The whole money is about $30 billion a year now. In fact, we made only $15 billion last year from oil. The budget of Nigeria last year was $30 billion. The budget of Brazil was $650 billion. Brazil, 208 million people. Nigeria, 206 million people. Now, for the media, I beg you, for the media, whoever says we are not going to demonstrate in Nigeria, please tell media you are here. Yes. Please, for me, it is the most agonizing thing. I mean, Titi Oguye is here. Under the military, under the most murderous military junta, we Buhari, Babangida and Abacha were demonstrating in 2003, and this is painful because they didn't pay me. In 2003, General Obasanjo, the Obasanjo administration, disbanded a rally in Kano attended by General Muhammadu Buhari and the late Okadibo, Chuba Okadibo. Okadibo was asthmatic. 2 days after that rally, they killed the boy because he had poisonous tear gas. After that horrible experience, they came to me. I'm talking of General Buhari and others. Please, can you go to court for us? We have no money to pay. Because the police have said they did not take police permit. How can you have a rally? We went to court. And in November 2006, we won the case where the court declares that police permit in Nigeria for rally is illegal and unconstitutional. The police appealed to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal in December 2008 said that police permit is a relic of colonialism and that a free people do not need permit to enjoy their freedom. Based on those two judgments, we mobilized the National Assembly, a more serious National Assembly than this one. And they made a law in 2015, March 28, that if you are going to have a rally in Nigeria, all you need to do is to inform the police. The police will provide adequate security. Last year, Section 83, Subsection 4 of the Police Act of 2020 has repeated that provision by saying during protests, the police have a duty to protect you so that the so-called hoodlums created by them will not disrupt your... Oh, you don't know that hoodlums are created by government. But these are young people, long-pen elements who have nothing doing. The government people use them during election. During election, they call them thugs. In peace time, they call them area boys. During riot, they call them hoodlums. Please, for our women, I beg you, who have studied the colonial history of Nigeria, women, there are some qualities that we just make mention partially. She was ahead of her male counterpart during the struggle. Single-handedly, she got a king, Alake of Egbala, Ademola the First, very powerful. She got her sent out of the throne because Alake colluded with the colonialists to impose double taxation in Egbala. The woman said, how can I pay tax and my husband will pay tax in the same home? And that was why they sent the man back. And I can go on and on, but please learn from what African countries are doing. Rwanda is ahead of the whole world in terms of women representation. 62% of the people holding positions in Rwanda are women. Rwanda now, South Africa and Ethiopia, cabinet is 50%, 50-50. 50% men, 50% women. So it's not about this stupid tokenism of, let's say, for 35% or something. But let me warn you. If you want to succeed, don't allow night meetings, nocturnal meetings of political parties must stop. You know why? It's difficult for women to leave their families in the night, to go and be holding meetings with other men. So that is why when it's about 4-5 a.m. after the meeting, the men will realize we have not elected any woman here. Okay, let's have a position of woman leader. You don't have woman leader. Now, I made a comment on arresting Nigerians at night. Some people are trying to say, oh, how can you say that? I didn't say you can't arrest at night. You can only arrest at night if criminal offenses are being committed. If armed robbers come to your neighborhood in night, you can call the police. But if I'm a criminal suspect, I am presumed innocent. I am entitled to my sleep. My family members are entitled to their sleep. Hence, Section 2, subsection 10 of the Anti-Torture Act of 2017 has now regarded denial of sleep or rest as an act of torture, which is punishable under the law. So if you want to arrest me, you stay around until I wake up in the morning. Because we are a civilized people. Civilized people. It is worse when you have no warrant of arrest. It is worst when you have no warrant to search my house. That was what we went through under the military. GT will recall, they will come to my house in the dead of the night. One day they came, arrested me. I was living in Ketu, took me away, arrested Dr. Kuti, Ransom Kuti, Beko, took him away. They dumped him on Badagry Road and dumped me on the road in the bush. So we found our way. When we came back to town and addressed the press, they said they didn't do it. They didn't know who did it to us. So on that day, my wife resolved, you are not going to go out again at night. Because anybody could have killed you. So what happened? They came again in the night, 3 a.m. And my wife, these people have come again. Won't I go with them? He said, no, you are not going to do. What are we going to do? Before I knew what was happening, my wife went out. It was still safe there. Went to the street. Criminals, armed robbers have come. And the big race. After that day, you know, they normally come to the office in broad daylight to arrest. And I'm advising Nigerians, don't go out with anybody at night, I beg you. If he says he's a security man, ask him to wait until daybreak. Because the danger now is, I know people have been kidnapped in their homes by criminals who pose as security people. In Ghana, in 1981, 4 judges, including a nursing mother, were kidnapped in the night and killed. 4 judges. President Rawlings never recovered from that shock. He denied, but nobody ever believed. So let the people in Abuja know we are not a conquered people. Learn to respect us and learn to treat us with dignity. Now, just while I was here now, I got information that the bill to criminalize protest has been withdrawn by the sponsor. You know, again my son sent this to me and I said, oh, I didn't say congratulations this time. I said, the Yoruba say, if you are being pursued by a masquerade, keep on trying. Because just like you are getting tired, the masquerade is getting tired too. The letters for the media, please, and this is my final one. The letters for the media, they have just approved a budget of 4.8 billion to the security forces to monitor your telephone conversation, your WhatsApp, and whatever. So that when you are communicating with your friend or your political ally, and they say the message is dangerous, you are going to be arrested. And I'm saying, have no fear, we are going to go. Because by virtue of section 37 of the Constitution, your right to telephone, your correspondence, telegraphic communication are protected by the Constitution. Therefore, we are going to challenge the violation. The money has been voted. We are not going to allow them to spend the money. Finally, I want to beg you, the media, I beg you, and we must not be sentimental about it. You have to self-regulate. There's a lot of mess going on. And if you don't self-regulate, they are going to regulate you. I'm challenging the MPA, the NUJ, and the Guild of Editors to meet urgently and bring out some new code of conduct Because today, 2 people or 1 person can sit down in his house, set up an online video, and begin to send any message. Some of them just meant to blackmail. So that must be correct. We must not wait for the government to do that. In the case of Twitter, my colleague has told you, by now they were going to be prosecuting Nigerians for trying to use Twitter through another means. But we have gone to court, and the court has given an injunction until the determination of this case. Thou shalt not punish any Nigerian. And by the way, there is no law in Nigeria that allows the government to punish anybody who defies an illegal suspension. There is no provision in our country, in our law, to punish somebody for an offense that is not prescribed by law. And that is what they wanted to do. Let me round up by saying, please, it is Kanu today, it is Boho today, it may be your turn tomorrow. We may not like them, and some of us are critical of these gentlemen, but there are certain irreducible minimum standards in our country. So we must not allow the Buhari regime to take us back to 1984. Many of you are very young then. An attempt was made to kidnap a politician in London. He had already been kidnapped. He was being taken to the airport when a lady in her flat saw the strange and primitive treatment of a human being and cried to the security. And that was why that was stopped, Umaru Diko. So you can't go back to Umaru Diko in 2021 under the law, and Kenya cannot admit this. That's why Kenya is in trouble. Kenya cannot admit that in our soil, a Nigerian was taken out of our country without going through the law. If you want to remove a criminal suspect in any country, you must go to court. We call it extradition. He was filed. Why you want him taken out? He will get his own lawyer to say why I should not be taken out. It is after the court has said this man has done bail in his country, he should go back to that country to be tried, that you can bring him here legitimately. But to abduct a citizen of Nigeria and put tranquilizer on him or send him to sleep is against the Anti-Torture Act of Nigeria. It's against Section 35 of the Constitution, against right to fair hearing. And therefore, those who say, oh, we brought Kanu back through some we intercepted him through some international security. No, there's nothing like that. Interpol does not. Interpol, and I challenge the government, Interpol does not abduct and deport anybody. Interpol will serve what you call red alert. That red alert allows a criminal suspect to be arrested pending extradition and not pending abduction. Therefore, let these guys know we're civilized people. You can't go to a citizen's house who is pretty innocent and you say we have raided. Please, you can look at the meaning of raid in your phone. Raid means to launch an attack on an enemy camp. A citizen cannot be an enemy when he has not even been tried. So you can't go to a citizen's house in the night and come out to say we killed 2 people, as if you are talking of 2 goats or 2 dogs. 2 people. Who are they? Where is the postmortem report? What is their identity? Of course, they did it in Lagos last week. I can assure you, we'll investigate, because under the law, anybody who is killed, there must be a corona symbol. In the case of the 14-year-old trader, by the way, why should a 14-year-old girl be a trader in the modern society? But because a 14-year-old girl, your daughter and mine, on that Saturday morning may be watching a television, or on the beach, enjoying herself. But she was trading, and where she was selling either pure water or whatever, she was fatally wounded and she died. What we have done in our office is to instigate and get we've got the chief judge, the chief coroner in Lagos State, to set up an inquest. And we are going to investigate. The police said we didn't do it. Okay, we know you didn't do it. Who did it? We are going to that guy, we are going to get him identified and prosecuted under the law. And that is the position. So once again, I want to thank you for this opportunity. And to urge you to go out there, register to vote, and join. And you can form a progressive political, not progressive in the sense of APC. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, please. Mr. Falana, please join us on stage. Mr. Falana, please join us on stage for pictures. Please, a round of applause once again for our chairperson. We're going to take a set of pictures. We're also going to have our closing remarks coming from Adeolu Adekola, who is Wole Soyinka'S Center for Investigative Journalism's Senior Program Officer. So, board members, panelists, let's head towards the cake first. The cake. Okay. Please, panelists, chairperson, yes, board join. So we'll just have the panelists point at the cake. The cake is, of course, in honor of Professor Wole Soyinka on his 87th birthday. Any board members that are present in the hall, let's take this set of pictures first.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Prof. Queen. Happy birthday to you.
All right, let's have the pictures here for the panelists as well as the chairperson alone. Panelists and the chairperson in front of the stage, center stage, please.
Ọjọ́ ìbí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Wole Soyinka ó pé lọ́mọ ọdún 97 lónìí. Àwa bá wọn yọ̀. Àwa náà yọ̀ fúnra wa lónìí nítorí ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Wole Soyinka ó ti gbìyànjú, wọ́n ti ṣe gudugudu méje yàyà mẹ́fà, wọ́n dẹ̀ ti ń jà kílùú ilé dá gbẹjọ tó ti pẹ́, ó ti kọjá 60 ọdún tó ti ń jà kílùú ilé dá. Àwa ń bẹ Ọlọ́run kó jẹ́ kó túbọ̀ wà láyé ní Nàìjíríà, kó bá lè bá tún Nàìjíríà sí, kí ìlọsíwájú Nàìjíríà kó lè ṣojú ìlọsíwájú Áfíríkà kó lè ṣojú ọ̀jọ̀gbọ́n Wole Soyinka. Nítorí tí adìẹ bá fẹsẹ̀ walẹ̀, ire ló ń wá, ire ní òmò ṣe tí wọn.